Yeah, I got it now. Do you want to see? That's the way it has to orient. So it's like,
That's fine.
yeah, I think it's okay.
Where are they speaking in the middle?
I think they're gonna speak in the middle, so I could probably do it like this.
Wait, they're going up to the middle to speak?
I'm not sure.
Not either.
Do you want to see if you can fix this, like, make it go up a little more?
Yeah. I can try. I don't know if it will.
Or maybe this is the time.
It might be because it's such a like a smaller tripod. Yeah, I think it is.
Sometimes this middle one comes out, like mine did.
Let's see.
Do you want me to try?
Sure.
Might be the. No. That's
I think it's this red one. And then yeah, this pulls out.
Nice. Yeah, let's
and
do
then
that
you want to
instead.
tighten that?
Yep. That's perfect. Thank
Okay.
you.
And then I don't know if you can. Oh, I guess you can't change this thing.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking like you can do what I'm doing and like pan it to people if they're not speaking at the podium.
Yeah.
But,
Well, you can go like this.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just not as.
but
It's
you
not
might,
as.
I mean, do you want to like turn it so it's like the handle is facing down?
Well, yeah, because when I do that.
No, I mean like, can you turn it like all the way this way, like this
You mean
way,
like this?
and then you can like grab it better, right?
Oh, you mean like this?
Yeah. Can you grab it? Is it better that way?
I mean, it's not that much better, and then my phone is doing that, so it's like it's not the best.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I'll just keep it like this.
Is it already live?
Yeah, it's live right now. I'm just fixing it. I'm tightening it up. And then here, I'll send you the link.
To me?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's just gonna be how it is because my phone is being weird, so it's fine. Just tighten this up.
Not waste my phone battery.
Yeah. Hey, what's up? It's live right now, so. How are you doing? We can talk.
Bianca. That could have took your tripod
Yeah,
out.
I know. It's fine. I'm gonna move it back a little bit though.
For a second. Should I go for Are you on the X-rays? Thank you. And you check if it has batteries?
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
Wait. Where would it show that?
Right in this corner.
Yeah, good.
There's extra batteries in the... Okay.
Sorry, you're good. Sorry, I'm gonna put my water right here if that's cool. Thank you. Where is he? I mean, I would say just get started. Let's test this out real quick. Okay, that does work.
They had it. They were there. They were down by like 7 with the minute left. I thought they were going to trail to come back. I don't think the minutes. I think
That's fun. Do you watch the basketball?
I do like it. I have to try my try to. I love both sports. I love both sports. And that's true.
Like, you would never have a cancel.
You're right. So I feel like the basketball games get really exciting like the last half. That's when it gets exciting.
One second time. Ready? I'm gonna do a pan. So like smiles, please. One, two.
That's same yard line. And they don't do anything. And then it's other people.
I just don't even understand. Yeah.
Oh, the South. Or hockey.
I've gone to the Hurricane like Iowa State. I still don't understand it. I love watching it. It's fun. It's entertaining. Yeah, it's definitely entertaining. No, I don't. I tried. I was home actually. I wish. He went for me to stay. I don't really ask her. Just pop up. Yeah, I just pop up. Oh, I don't know. She's really good at cooking desserts. We already got it. Really sweet, like I can see you with tea and coffee.
We're going to get started at 6:45, all right? We're still trying to get the microphones working, so just give us a few minutes and then we'll get started.
Heard. Are we getting started?
We're trying one more thing.
Yeah, just go. Here.
For socials. For Twitter.
Here,
How are you getting it?
back up. I'm not getting it. I'm gonna have to pan.
This is my first time. And I'm doing great. Should I do it like that? Here, look at it. Did they zoom in? How did you get everyone in the same boat? I think
You could do a video.
yeah, true. That's a good one.
If you just said, that's what
That's fine.
it's
It'll be fine. That's fine. I'm just waiting, and so I'm just like, might as well.
yeah, just
If you can zoom in really close on it, be like, this is our favorite, this is our favorite, this is our.
Hello.
Hey, that one works.
Alright, we're gonna go ahead and get started. So everybody please quiet down. Alright, good evening. My name is Sam Overton and I'm a managing editor at Technician.
Hello, I'm Grogan. I'm the managing editor of Media Message.
We'll be moderating today's debate between the candidates for NC State's next student body president and student body vice president. This year the format is a little different. Since there are 4 tickets, we'll be combining the president and vice president debates into one, and each pair will debate as a team. First, each team will have 1 minute to introduce themselves, and then we'll dive into the first round of questions. Each team will receive the same 3 questions, so audience members can understand the differences between each ticket's platform. Each team will get 2 minutes to respond, and there's no time for rebuttal or debate. Either or both members on the ticket can choose to respond to the first round of questions. In the second round, there will be 2 ticket-specific questions per team. Each team will get 2 minutes to respond, and the other teams will have 3 minutes to rebuttal in response to that. Each member of the team will be tasked with answering one of the 2 questions, although the other candidate can jump in during the rebuttal period. So we'll be asking one of you individually on the 2 ticket-specific questions. After the second round, each team will get 1 minute for closing statements. Does anybody have any questions? We'll repeat everything at the beginning of each round of questioning.
Okay, if nobody has any questions or concerns, let's get started. We'll begin with 1 minute introduction from each team.
And I'll be keeping time on we'll be keeping time on our computer, so we'll just say time when your time is up.
Awesome. We will start with Kayla and Kate.
I'll project as best as possible. Hi, everybody. My name is Kayla Grogan. I am currently the Deputy Chief of Staff here for Student Government. I am a second-year student, double majoring in criminology and political science on a law and justice concentration. Outside of student government, I pride myself in being very involved in our campus. A couple different clubs like ASAP, which houses our Student Alumni Association, our Pre-Law Student Association, and a tour guide. I have a great passion for NC State. I'm the fourth child of my family to come here. I'm a legacy student. My heart has always remained with NC State, and that's why I feel very passionate about advocating for each of your experiences so you can also feel like you are genuinely a part of NC State.
I'm Katie Phillips. I'm a third-year student studying political science and STS. I'm also an out-of-state student. I'm originally from Atlanta, Georgia. Outside of student government, I'm involved in the music department. I'm in pre-law, and I spent a tenure at WKNC. I have been in student government for 3 years. I'm a CHAS senator, and then I was pro temp last semester. And I'm very excited to be able to advocate for students. I think that this is a beautiful community with diverse voices, and I want to be a lot of voices.
Awesome. We're gonna go to Nina and William.
Hi, I'm Nina Kudlak. I'm a third-year student studying political science and double minoring in Middle East Studies and Parks, Recreation, and Tourism Management. I currently serve as a senator in the CHAS delegation of student government, and I'm the chair of the largest standing committee, the Student Affairs Committee. I work in the North Carolina Senate with a state senator, so I'm very politically involved. I love politics, and my dream career is to be an elected official one day. And I love student government, so that's why I'm here right now.
Hey everyone, I'm Vuncannon. I use he, him pronouns. I'm a third-year double majoring in political science and religious studies, and this is my third year serving in student government. My first year, I joined as a student senator representing the College of Humanities and Social Sciences. Last year, I served in the position that is now known as Deputy Chief of Staff, and I now serve as Executive Chief of Staff. Outside of student government, I'm involved in a number of student organizations. I serve as a university ambassador. I serve as a member of the University Library Committee, a former member of the University Dining Committee. And also, I currently serve as an environmental justice and climate change policy internship. And I recently completed working at the Office of the Governor.
Okay, awesome. We're gonna go ahead to Timothy and Allison.
Hey everyone, thank you for coming out tonight. We really appreciate it. My name is Timothy Reid. I'm a third-year majoring in business administration with a concentration in finance and a minor in political science. I've been involved in student government since my freshman year here at State, first semester. I had the privilege of serving as a first-year senator and then consecutively as a full college of management senator. And currently I serve as your student body vice president. So my time in student government has been phenomenal. Just the relationships I've been able to form, the incredible work we've been able to do across campus has just been very fundamental to my experience here at State. Outside of student government, I am involved as a Park Scholarships Ambassador, a full College of Management Student Ambassador, and also as a business analyst with Consulture Community. Integral to my experience.
Markert. I'm a current sophomore here at NC State. I'm majoring in natural resources and I'm minoring in political science. Throughout my time here at NC State, I've really been able to curtail to interdisciplinary passions here at State. Within student government, I've been able to explore this through serving within Student Senate, as well as serving as chair of the Department on Title IX here. I've been able to develop a deep connection with the community here, between my peers as well as between campus administration. Through this, I've been able to develop a broad scope of knowledge here on campus of multifaceted issues that students here are facing.
Awesome. We'll go to Hilton and Chima.
Hey everybody, my name is Hilton Stallworth. I'm currently a junior here at NC State studying mechanical engineering while minoring in Spanish. Some of the things that I'm involved in are Black Campus Ministry, which is a community organization for Black students here on campus to come and study the Bible together, as well as being a Goodnight Scholar, which I'm an ambassador, which I have done both external outreach to local smaller schools to get students interested in STEM, as well as an internal leadership person who facilitates different events. I am currently a senator for the College of Engineering, where I've served on the GROW committee doing government relations and oversight, as well as the student affairs committee. And last but not least, I'm the president of the Howling Wolves Initiative, a project that is hoping to kind of expand school spirit across the university and just kind of create more accessibility across the university.
Hey guys, my name is Chima Nwosu. I'm junior at NC State University with a major of computer engineering. One of the things I'm involved with outside of pretty much school, like my extracurriculars, is that I'm involved in the Howling Wolves Initiative, and I'm also involved in aquatic robotics. I also do undergraduate research, and the main thing that I'm trying to do with this campaign is to make school spirits and also diversity and inclusion more accessible to students in the engineering department.
Okay, thank you. We'll now go into the first round of questions. So each team will receive the same 3 questions, and to try and make this as fair as possible, I'm going to start with the first question with you, I'm going to start the second question with you, start the third question with you, and we'll go down the line just to try and, because you'll be hearing the question before other people. So I'm going to start with Nina and Will. And just as a reminder, you will have 2 minutes to respond to this question. You can choose to answer this together. One of you can choose to answer it, the entire thing. Totally up to you guys. If anyone wants to jump in, that's fine. Just please know that you have 2 minutes to respond to the question. So the first question is, according to the student government mission statement, SG encourages students to express their concerns and ideas. How do you plan to ensure student government operates as a safe space for students' voices?
I think I'll start off by answering that. Something that I love about student government is that it is for the students, obviously, and I have heard a lot of talk, especially this year, about doubts about student government, kind of people wondering about what student government does, who student government is, and one of my goals, if we become student body president and vice president, is to make student government more accessible in that way and really empower students to speak up. And I kind of want to do a feedback form that can be campus-wide, so you think student government has something wrong with it, please tell us what it is. And that's specific to student government. We have a form called the What to Fix form right now, which is more general issues, but I think that we need to hear from people what specifically they think is wrong with student government, and I think that would be a great way to bridge that gap and make people feel more comfortable giving us their concerns that are not just about us. I want to open the door for them.
I'll add, a big part of our platform is listening to and being receptive of student feedback, knowing that we don't have all the answers ourselves, knowing we can't just make unattainable goals ourselves, but listening to student feedback and coming up with tangible plans that way. And that's why it includes listening to students that are often overlooked and often aren't listening to, such as first years, such as international students, such as off-campus students. And that's why that's such a big part of our platform, to make sure those students and all students are welcomed and appreciated for the different experiences and perspectives they all bring.
Thank you. All right, next we'll move to Kayla and Katie.
Yeah, okay.
If you guys need me to repeat the question at any point, just let me know.
Okay. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
There you go.
So I think one of the big things that when I talk about student government to my friends that are outside of the organization, there's a lot of discussion about what has student government done for me, or what has happened before you were in office and after you're in office that really affects me personally. And I think that's a huge thing that Kayla and I have addressed in our platform, the idea that there should be a tangible result for students as a result of your administration, which is why we have things that are not only short-term that'll affect students as we get ready to welcome our largest incoming class ever, but also long-term things that'll lay the groundwork for student government to be able to connect outside of ourselves and with other student organizations and people on campus.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and echo what I said in my opening statements. Our platform is really a state for students, and that's what we truly want to bring to the table with you all. We want to provide a university that prioritizes your voice over anything else. You are the reason we're all here. We are the reason administration is here, and I think that to have that power is to have an openingness that student government can really facilitate. So we're not trying to create a headache for anyone else. We're trying to facilitate conversations between you and administration, as well as just aid in any way possible. And I think that while we can do that on an internal thing, we also do need that student outreach anywhere and everywhere we can possibly get it.
Thank you. Moving on to Timothy and Allison.
Yes, thank you for your question. A fundamental aspect of the platform that we run on is intentional outreach to communities all around campus because, you know, student government has a very important role in amplifying the student voice. So it's important that students are able to see what we're doing and they're able to see how they can take part in what we're doing. So one of our specific platform items is strengthening ties between student government and minority communities. Historically, minority communities have been disenfranchised, especially from the work that student government has done. So we will be very intentional about reaching out to those communities, specifically to the heads of student organizations, and just making sure that we're being proactive and not expecting them to come to us or, you know, them to get involved with the work that we're doing in our silo, but we want to be proactive about reaching out to communities that aren't usually engaged with or feel as if their voice isn't usually heard. So this will take place in the form of town halls, visits to student organizations if they would like us to come speak to them. And of course, Allison and I will always have an open door in terms of social media, email communication, office hours, and finally communicating, doing a better job of communicating what it is that student government does. So student government as it exists now has the opportunity and does provide a ton of resources and a wealth of resources to students. One mainly being in the form of appropriations. So we want to make sure that students are aware of these resources and that they know that they can take advantage of these resources and outlining the steps for doing so.
Building off of what Timothy was saying, I think it's most crucial to recognize that as a student leader, our positioning is to utilize our voice and our position to be inclusive of spaces for all students on campus. And so one of the most important ways that we can go about that is to work to currently dismantle barriers to student government and to ensure that it's as accessible as possible. And once it is seen as a more welcoming, more accessible environment, what Timothy and I aim to do.
That's time, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to Hilton and Chima.
Can you please repeat the question one more time?
Sorry, okay, yes, I can repeat the question. So according to the student government mission statement, SG encourages students to express their concerns and ideas. How do you plan to ensure student government operates as a safe space for student voices?
Most definitely. So, for those of you guys who don't know, me and Chima's campaign slogan is "Home is where the pack is." And so, essentially, the whole mission of our campaign is to essentially make NC State a place that feels more like home. And in a home, an ideal home, people should be comfortable with talking with one another. And so, as student body president and vice president, me and Chima will work to kind of change the culture of SG to kind of, instead of from being like a man behind the curtain, like, who is this person? Like, what do they do? What does student government? What can student government do for me? Do they really care? To rather being, hey, I'm very approachable. Come sit down. Come talk with us. What's going on in your lives? As well as being very deliberate with different student organizations, different student groups that might be facing certain challenges during different times. Like, for example, like if there are struggles within the community of women here in the state, or the Black community, or the LGBT community, or the Hispanic community. We want to be able to directly go to these communities, either through the community centers, or student organizations that service them, or through their academic colleges, and be an open ear as well as a working hand to work towards solutions to whatever problems they face. Some methods of which we'll get this feedback are through our email. We'll be constantly checking our email, as well as hosting continuous office hours and doing events that cater to these specific communities. We'll be in contact with the leaders of these communities to make sure that everyone is on the same page and knows that these resources are available and that the student government as itself is available to support them. And yeah.
Extending on what Obi said, we want to like make student government more applicable to like more people like who are in this community, and have more people also become involved in student government as well too. Preferably like engineering students or like people of like the Black community and like the Hispanic community.
All right, thank you so much.
The next question, and we'll start with Kayla. NC State is a predominantly white institution, making it crucial for the university and the student government to foster diversity and inclusion. How will you encourage an inclusive environment, and how will you emphasize diversity in your cabinet? Additionally, you'll be giving everyone a 30-second warning with your 2 minutes to go home now.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that question. I think it's a super important one that we touch on, and that we just really bring awareness to. I think, especially this past year, with the work of our Student Senate President, Miles Calzini, and Mackenzie Hedlund, honestly, our student government has made a great job at bringing in a lot of different voices and seeing a lot of different perspectives and backgrounds. So I think SG is really promoting that in that sense, and where we see a struggle the most is to bring that inclusivity to the university level. Like I said, we really do care about your belongingness here and how you feel about being a part of the wolf pack. So we have a couple different aims we want to take at this. Athletics is a huge part of ours, and that's where we see a lot of our students come together. But we also see a lot of our students get isolated in that same respect. So we want to bring different fun quirks to our athletics. For instance, tailgating at basketball games sponsored by certain student organizations, or like a grad student section. So you're surrounded by people that not only look like you, but share a similar story as you. They have the same experiences as you. So you just have that opportunity to speak with people that are similar to you and be part of that pack. And that's where we really become united as one, I believe. And it goes past just athletics. We plan to do this on so many different realms throughout our campus. And that's just one example. Do you have anything else?
Yeah, to build on what Kayla said, obviously you touched on the fact that NC State is a PWI, and Kayla and I are both white. But I think one of the really important things is to do what you say and say what you mean, and Kayla and I are determined to say that we will listen. We cannot say that we know everybody's background or everybody's story, but we are determined to listen and amplify those voices and make a space for them to have their voices represented alongside ours as we speak to administration.
Thank you for the question. I'd like to start this question off by saying I think one of the best parts about our ticket is that Allison and I represent the student body, and in our experience, in our background, just the people that we've been able to connect with across campus. And so I think that'll be a strength that we'll be able to leverage and utilize in our time throughout the 103rd session of student government, just to be able to connect with different communities. In the last question, I mentioned how we'll be specific and intentional about our outreach to communities that have historically been left out, but this is something that has been, prioritized all throughout our platform, and so we're excited to prioritize that work for the 103rd session, and really just get a multitude of backgrounds, beliefs, perspectives, identities represented in and throughout student government, because that is reflected of our student body.
Building off what Timothy was saying, we think that it's really important to have a concrete step-by-step procedure to ensure that minority voices are heard within student government here on campus. And so some of the ways that we work to advocate for minority students is to work to, as I touched on before, but work to really dismantle the barriers that are led with student government. Student government typically comes with a really cold approach. Some people don't know how to access student government, they're senators, and we think that, as Timothy mentioned, really reaching out to minority communities and inviting them into our space is a great first step. Moving off past that, ensuring that once it's seen as accessible, using our platform using our voice to prioritize their mission and bring their voice to the forefront, and then building off of that as soon as they're entered in and welcomed into the student government community more, ensuring that minority voices are able to be sustained through diverse representation here within our community.
The second time, but can you repeat the question one more time, please?
Of course. NC State is a predominantly white institution, making it crucial for the university and student government to foster diversity and inclusion. How will you encourage an inclusive environment, and how will you emphasize diversity within your head?
Yes, ma'am. So, being a black man here at NC State University, I've seen kind of firsthand, if not always directly to myself, but what my friends and people who I interact with deal with here, and some of the microaggressions that they might face. And so I believe that it's highly important to promote that sense of diversity here with NC State and the NC State community. And so, like, again, previously stated, like, reaching out to those community centers around campus, as well as the student organizations that service these groups. We really need to show NC State that we are all members of one pack. Like, all these wolves, while there may be different colors of hair, like, we're all the same species. We're all here to get that education, make the world a better place. And so, we're definitely going to make sure that we get a large variety of voices in the room, because when you have a diversity of opinions, you can come to the optimized state where you get the best solution. Because, for example, my professor one time, she gave an example of how there's a car manufacturing company, and for a reason, their cars aren't selling as good women. The reason was there was no women in the room when they were already talking about, how do I make these cars? And they came to find out when they added a woman to the focus group, they said, well, I can't buy this car because I can't reach the control panel. And then once you brought that voice in, those car sales skyrocketed. And that is directly analogous to NC State and the community of how further we can go when we bring all the voices to the table.
So our plan is to promote more outreach initiatives. I'd say to like more like high school students, minority high school students, to actually get into SGA, like Student Government Association here at NC State, and to just mainly outreach to communities also within NC State as well too, to student government. Most students don't really know much about student government, and they're not as influenced to get active in student government.
Since my time at NC State started, I've become more and more familiar with the privilege that I have being a white woman at a PWI, and I also have realized that I can't speak for communities that are harmed by the fact that it is a PWI. But something that I've learned how to do and something that I've loved doing, especially during the course of this campaign, has been to reach out to groups that have different experiences than me, different upbringings, different skin color, different, whatever. And just so I can get that that input, that how can I help you? Because like I said, I can't assume what's best for everybody, and I don't think it's right for me to. I don't think it's right for student government to assume what's right for anybody without consulting people that are, underrepresented. So it really would just be a lot of outreach, like I said.
Just like Nina said, the most important thing, and Nina and my platform, is when you're working with what are the best solutions for the systemic barriers to historically underrepresented groups, it's wrong to make assumptions about what these groups want and what would work best for them. And I think when you look at our platform, it's clear the outreach and the feedback we've received from these groups. It's why we are supporting things like a continuation of land acknowledgements. We've reached out to members of Native American Student Association. It's why we support things like an increase in interfaith rooms. It's why we support better accessibility for hard of hearing students. We've reached out to these groups and these people to not make assumptions about what is best for them, but to listen to their feedback and talk about what are realistic paths forward to address these systemic barriers.
Great, thank you. For the final question, I'll be addressing Timothy first. This one should be pretty easy to remember, but simply put, what sets your campaign apart from the other three tickets?
Thank you for your question, and I alluded to this a little bit in our last question, but I think what sets us apart is the experience and the connection that we have all across campus. The past 3 years, I have had the privilege of being involved in many different student organizations, with many different students across all different areas of student involvement, and that has just given me much more insight and greater perspective into what the issues are that students are facing, their concerns, what they would like to see addressed, and that's been a great segue into really just addressing the question of what student government can do to bring more people into the fold, address a wider array of student concerns, and really just advocate in a more wholesome manner for the students. So I believe that's the strength of our ticket, and we've also been intentional in our outreach to communities that we don't have access to. And so that'll be a fundamental part of our administration, is anything that we don't touch personally, anyone we don't know, we want to reach out to them so that we make sure we're being intentional about bringing those voices to the table and hearing those concerns.
We truly bring a multifaceted, interdisciplinary approach to student government and to everything that we touch on campus. We also bring strong voices, and through our higher leadership experience that we've held within student government, we've had experience working with higher level administration. That's really important because we're able to best connect members that are interested in joining student government, members that are interested in pursuing a particular interest or making a change on campus. We know exactly where to filter them, we know who to talk to, and we know exactly how to connect them to ensure that real sustainable change is made here on campus.
Thank you.
The question was what separates.
What sets your campaign apart from the other three tickets?
Well, I would say that the thing that sets our campaign apart from the other two tickets is the focus on the mission. And our specific mission, once again, being making NC State a community community that feels more like home. For most, if not all, of the students here at the university, we either live here completely or live here for most of our time, whether that be taking classes, going out with friends, studying for tests and examinations, exploring routes. And so what our ticket, that differentiates our ticket, is kind of going into a holistic aspect of what does it mean to really be home. What does it mean to have a community where you feel a sense of belonging? And when you have that sense of belonging, you have less of an imposter syndrome. Where do you have a community where you have the resources for both mental and physical health, as well as people fighting for you in student government that can help make sure that these resources are easily attainable. As well as, why do you want to be here? It's not just, okay, I'm decent here, I'm cool here, but why do you want to be proud of where you are? What type of spirit do you implement that makes you proud to say, hey, go Pack, you know? And so that's why we're really trying to cultivate this sense of pride and belonging within our community here at NC State so that every student can thrive. And I feel like our plan is pretty well to do that, and I think that's what sets us apart from the other candidates.
Extending off what Hilton said, we want to make NC State feel more like a home, so that's promoting more health and security, more community, more diversity and inclusion, more school spirits. In case you didn't know, one of the things that Hilton did was he did the Highland Rules Initiative, and that very project is meant to promote more school spirit among students. And one of the other important things, like I said, is that we want to also promote health and safety too. In case you guys didn't know, last year was pretty tough for a lot of students. So, yes.
What makes our campaign different from the other candidates is that we are really running on a passion for empowering and connecting with the average student, whether that is a grad student with children, an international student that has to bus everywhere and is getting overwhelmed with the bus schedules and the limited capacity, an undergrad from Cary or Keep Wave Arena, somebody who is an undergrad from forever, far away, like all those people, we just want to empower them and connect with them in a way that student government has had an issue with before, I think. And it's reflected in our platform. I know I love students, I love people, and just that average student facet is what makes us different, I think.
Yeah, and I'll add, it's so important for us in our platform that we don't just make empty promises. We wanted to make actual realistic plans on how to do our goals. We want our platform to be made up of ambitious yet attainable goals so that we know who we're going to work with to get these things done, how we're going to get them done, how long it'll take. We can be honest with students. In our platform, we also wanted to highlight many overlooked issues, such as sustainability on campus and promoting environmental justice in our community, such as the first-year experience, such as the experiences of international students, as Nina touched on. These are all overlooked issues and examples of things that we think student government could be doing a better job on. That's why we wanted to include them in our platform. Our platform is very extensive. It covers a lot of issues. But as I said, these are things that we believe we can realistically accomplish through tangible plans.
Thank you. All right, finally, Kayla and Keith.
Oh, sorry. I was at the ACC conference, and apparently I'm losing my voice. So I think one of the things that Kayla and I really talked about is that community looks different to everybody. I think that when we talk about community, we often talk about big student organizations that are in the hundreds or sometimes bigger. But community can be 3 people, community can be 10 people, community can be your organization of 350. And so our platform really addresses meeting students where they are and helping them build a community that is unique to what their interests are on campus and having that be sustainable and embedded in their plan as they move through campus, what that looks like, how we can support them. And I think that we won't promise things that we can't do, and I think doing that from the small level, starting with those communities, is really going to help us.
Yeah, just to emphasize what Katie said, sustainability to us goes beyond just the green thumb. We really do care about social sustainability, mental sustainability. It comes full circle with all of that. We need to make sure that our kids can at least get out of bed in the morning before we can realize who composts what and where that should be going. So that's really our priority, is to focus on the overall arching umbrella of sustainability as a whole and making sure that our kids can show up for that. And I think that we approach this, our communities, no matter what size, what they look like, we approach our student body as we are lucky to have you, not you are lucky to be here. And we truly, truly believe that with every single person here.
All right, thank you.
We'll be moving on to the second round. questions per team. Each member of the team will be tasked with answering one of the two questions, although the other candidate can jump in during the rebuttal period. Each team will get 2 minutes to answer each question, and then we'll open the floor for 3 minutes. At that point, all 4 teams will have the opportunity to engage in open discussion regarding the previous questions answered.
Does that make sense to everybody?
So the other candidate can speak during the rebuttal.
Yeah, but we want the candidate to be addressed to answer the question.
During 2 minutes.
Yes, sir. Does that make, I know it's confusing. Does that make sense?
And then it was each person addresses one.
Yeah, we have 2 ticket-specific questions. We'll address you, and you will answer one of them, and then we'll ask the other person, and they will answer the other question.
Okay, thank you.
During the rebuttal period, we always kind of early like.
I will, we'll just allow for an open discussion. Does that make sense? Everybody good with that?
Exactly. Once we start
Alright, we're gonna start with Kayla, Grogan, and Phillips. Kayla, according to your website, your platform does not mention a section for diversity, inclusion, or equity for underrepresented students or BIPOC students. What are your plans for representing NC State's entire student body fairly and accurately, and why, if there was a reason, why wasn't this included in your initial platform?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that it was not specifically stated in our platform because it's something we want to infiltrate into each of our subsections. So, for instance, athletics, traditions, school spirit, graduate students even. We understand that there is such a diverse culture at NC State and that no matter where you go, someone is going to be isolated historically. And we want to combat that with everything that we're seeing on our platform. So it is one overarching goal to combat that and eliminate that struggle, but also, again, like what Katie said earlier, meet people where we are or where they are, and really just infiltrate that throughout our entire platform. That really encompasses our sustainability of the whole entire aspect of our platform, just bringing that all together as one.
Great, thank you. All right, we'll open the floor up for 3 minutes for discussion. Go ahead.
Okay, anywhere in your platform, did you at all specifically address minority students, or were they just left out of your platform discussion? From what you
I mean, yeah, I remember it well. I think that it was not specifically stated for a couple different underrepresented. However, the topic at hand is mentioned within all of ours. So it does not specifically state, we feel these groups are left out. But it does specifically state, we want to include every group throughout our entire platform.
I'll go. Well, I can say that our ticket, we're glad to demonstrate an upstanding commitment to, diverse and equitable outcomes for all students. Like I said, especially making sure that they're included and that they're well aware of SU processes. This extends beyond student government as well. There are a number of initiatives that we want to implement working with university administration and different departments across the campus just to make sure we are elevating that perspective. One I'll mention specifically is the reestablishment of the Racial Equity Town Hall. This is something that was spearheaded 3 years ago after the summer of 2020 by the UNC system in the wake of calls for social justice. Really just allowing professionals, professors, people who have done research in these areas to contribute their perspective to these issues and addressing localized campus issues and coming up with solutions that really help to promote a more equitable environment and community for all of us.
I think something else that we don't recognize.
I'm gonna let Hilton speak.
Okay. Something I would like to talk about is diversity, just at the top of it, because we've all been mentioning diversity in terms of like racial and identity diversity. But one part of Chima and I's platform is ability diversity. Not exactly sure the right way to phrase that, but people who have to interact with the DRO. I'm sure all of us who either have interacted with DRO or have friends who have interacted with DRO have had some less than acceptable, not acceptable, but like not the best treatment services / experience in that process, which 30 seconds, which isn't necessarily the fault of the DRO. However, I believe that it's due to A, the lack of funding, B, the lack of resources, and C, the lack of staffing within the facility, as well as just optimization changes. And so something that me and Chima are going to work for is to kind of do research if we get elected in this office to find out how we can optimize the Disabilities Resource Office to help inclusivity with people of different abilities.
So this is my first time moderating your debate. I'm going to let each candidate have 30 minutes for rebuttal.
30 minutes.
30 seconds for rebuttal. Okay, so is it a specific rebuttal, or was it like meant to be like a questioning, like interchange? Yeah, so you can have like, is supposed to be an open discussion, right? But I also want it to be fair, so you can take that time to address all of the questions that we're going to ask, target different parts of each platform that all are also kind of like general, as you'll see with the following questions. So we're just going to allow 30 minutes for rebuttal. You can either choose to, to highlight your own platform or rebuttal. Thank you. This is my first and last time.
Each candidate or each ticket?
Each ticket. Does that make sense to everybody? Everything with that? Yes. And that way we'll cut down time for arguing.
Yeah.
Okay, Katie. Second question. I'm so sorry. Several components of your platform prioritize issues you have specific experience with, or both have experience with. Community and athletics, men's basketball games, and arts inclusion, to name a few. Some would argue your platform lacks focus on STEM endeavors, research, and our ongoing research institution. There are some issues that you'll have to address that you won't have specific experience with. How do you plan to do so?
Yeah, that's a great question. When speaking about experiences that Kayla and I don't have, I think the most important part is to bring people into our team who do have those experiences. I would never assume anybody's position, or I don't want to speak in anybody's place. And so I think some of the reason that we have a full my experience is in the Senate, and so we have places built in for certain people of certain backgrounds from different education colleges here to have those voices amplified. And I think working in the executive for me will be different, but it'll be exciting because we get to help create a holistic experience of different experiences throughout campus. So even if I might not have that personal experience, I will be able to bring in people who do have that experience, and I want that to be the voice that's amplified.
And just to remind everybody, 30 seconds for either rebuttal or talk about your own platform in that regard. Does it make sense to everybody? All right. And we'll go down the line, so we're going to start with Timothy and Allison.
Yeah, so this is something we're fully committed to as well. While we have a diverse array of experiences between us, we obviously realize that this is a campus on the verge of 40,000 students, so there are always going to be perspectives and experiences besides our own that need to be represented. So we'll be intentional about this in our search. If we're elected, when we fill our cabinet, making sure that we're bringing diverse experiences, diverse perspectives. Yes.
All right, Hilton and Chima.
All right, so to address this issue, we as well will be making sure that we have a diverse amount of voices within our cabinet when we create our team to help lead the student body. However, to specify, we want to make sure that whilst keeping that diversity, we want to have people who are specialists in the field that we are trying to address. Like for example, if we're going to try and address a CHAS issue, we're not going to put an engineer in that role. We're going to make sure that whoever we're catering to, the voice that is being spoken from is good.
All right, and finally, Nina.
Just like we did while we were getting our platform together, we asked people that, had experiences that were different from us, obviously, because you mentioned that the other candidate's platform was things that they already had experience with. We have a lot, like our goal to extend interfaith rooms on campus and implement more of those, as well as our deaf and hard of hearing accommodations. Neither of those apply to me or will, but we want to reach out to these communities and make sure that they're accounted for, and we would be doing that by some of those things.
start with you. One of your top priorities is the First Year Experience Initiative, a sweeping plan that reaches into 2025. If you only have 1 year to make a difference at NC State on the governmental level as student body president and vice president, why is this initiative at the top of your list? How will it be feasible considering the report will supposedly come out in March 2024?
So it should come as no surprise that the freshman classes are getting larger and larger. There are more people to be accounted for when it comes to the freshman population on campus. And as there are more of them, there are more problems that they're facing, like lack of housing, lack of counseling resources, classes are getting full, people can't get the classes that they need. So we just believe that it was a really important issue to face. And we have a lot of friends that are freshmen who have been able to give us their input to our platforms and really educate us on what they're going through. And we want to connect with the average student, and there's a lot of freshmen. They're like the average student, I guess you could say. So we really just wanted to accommodate them in that sense. And like, it is one of our biggest goals, but it's not our biggest. And we think that if we work hard and we have the right people behind us, we can make sure that this is something that actually comes to fruition.
We'll start with
So essentially, could you restate the question one more time?
one of your top priorities, is the First Year Experience Initiative, a sweeping plan that reaches into 2025. If you only have 1 year to make a difference at NC State on the governmental level, as student body president and vice president, why is this initiative at the top of your list? How will it be feasible considering the report will supposedly come out in 2024?
30 seconds. All right. So if I am elected in this role, first year students is an extremely important part because they are the future of that. Within the engineering department, there is the CODA process where you learn to be an engineer. In other departments, you learn about your major and you go for it. And so to support our first year students, we really hope to make sure that they feel a place of belonging by reaching out to them specifically, by helping them find student organizations, finding communities, and finding resources, including the mental health resources to make them be successful here on campus.
Yes, I think it's important when determining what the feasibility and scope of the goals that you're going to set for the session is. You have to take into account how much time you actually have to implement that change. So our initiatives, our goals, they're all things that we can start right now. We can hit the ground running. We're prepared to have those conversations to implement the change now.
I have a question for you, actually. If I want to ask them a question and they respond, can I then use my 30 seconds to respond to that? Or will my 30 seconds be the question?
Sure. You can ask me a question and we'll give you 30 seconds to respond.
Okay. You cited in your argument that first years are experiencing a housing crisis. While I understand that we are continuously bringing in a newer and bigger freshman class, I feel as though the first year live-on requirement really aids in helping the first years with their housing. How are you going to help the housing crisis for the upper grades?
So that is another issue that kind of comes together with the international student and the grad student population, because there are freshmen that are required to live in on-campus housing. These grad students and these international students are pushed out into places with limited bus routes and, you know, not great police jurisdiction. So it is a really big issue. It's an ugly monster. Can you repeat the question?
I was just asking how you plan on combating the housing crisis for the upper grades, considering they're the ones that don't have the live-on requirement.
So it's going to be a really hard beast to kill, honestly. Like, I've done work with student affairs this year with my committee. We looked at issues regarding transportation to those students that are pushed out. So it would be a matter of advocacy. I mean, you are supportive of increasing bus routes, so I'm sure you know how difficult it is to have that conversation with transportation. It would be reaching out to people, asking for help, and being able to speak to the students who really need it is a big issue for them.
Another top priority of yours is student safety, which is inherently tied to working with university police. Beyond your plans for a department on student safety, how will you address the socio-historical implications of policing in the United States? In this regard, what are your plans to make all students feel safe and protected on campus?
I think the most important thing about our student safety platform is the last sentence you said right there, making all students feel safe, not just students living on campus. I think the past 2 sessions, our select department on university police relations and student input has done a phenomenal job under the leadership of Chair Reid with working with university police to ensure that students of historically marginalized and underrepresented identities are represented in that department. Something we want to expand on that though is working with Raleigh City Council, working with Raleigh Police Department to facilitate these conversations and these relationships so that all campus students also feel safe. One of the most important ways to do this is ensure that students of different ethnic backgrounds are included in this department so that we can have these differing experiences and this different feedback as we work with Raleigh Police to determine the best courses of action to ensure the safety of off-campus students.
Yeah, so one of the main things, a part of our initiative is health and safety. So one of the most important things is going to be education, educating students about like where to go, like basically where to go, like how to navigate these areas that are most like dangerous, like places like Israel, and like also making sure that everybody is knowledgeable about.
Student safety is a top priority, will be a top priority of our administration. As the other candidate mentioned, I currently chair the select department on UPD relations, which is liaison between the student body and the UPD, and we've already begun to have a lot of these conversations, and that's why we will reestablish the UPD select department in the next session of student government, just to make sure that we are having these conversations and students are centered in this conversation of campus security and student safety.
Yeah, so Kayla and I are really proud to have a point in our platform that addresses your exact question about the socio-historical implications of policing. And I think one of the big ways to do that is to have a relationship between obviously UPD and students on campus so that it's an approachable resource rather than something that is built in as foreign or something that we may not be familiar with so that students are comfortable. I also think it's important to address that there are safety concerns outside of what the police can address for students. This is something I've faced personally, and I think that that is important to work in facet with student safety to address that for all students who might not have that background.
Yeah, so again, I just want to echo what we said earlier about ensuring the safety of off-campus students and working with the city of Raleigh, working with Raleigh Police. I think, unfortunately, our campaign has been one of the only to address this issue repeatedly, the safety of off-campus students. And I also want to add that when we're addressing these socioeconomic factors and things like this, kind of like we said earlier, we can't make assumptions about what works best for these communities. We have to ensure that they are represented as we're making these decisions.
All right, next we're going to talk to Timothy and Allison. I'm going to start Markert. I'll start with them. So Timothy, in your platform, you discussed relaxing the first year on-campus living requirement. This could potentially have a negative impact on students who are struggling with transition to college since they won't have the communal living experience. I know that's something a lot of my peers experienced during COVID year, right? So nobody was on campus. How do you plan to balance the costs and benefits of removing the requirement, and what are the benefits that you are specifically targeting?
Yes, so in reevaluating the first year live-on requirement, what we're trying to address and what we're trying to tackle is housing insecurity. So as we know, we are already busting at the seams. We barely have enough housing capacity to meet the current demand of first-year students as our first-year classes are getting larger and larger every year. And we know that if it were not a strict requirement for students to have to live on campus, that many other students would pursue off-campus adjacent off-campus student housing developments such as Stanhope, Uncommon, Live on Hillsborough. There are a multitude of other different options. And so as we're creating more space on campus, we're able to expand access for other groups who aren't able to attain affordable housing, such as international students, graduate students. As we know, the cost of living in Raleigh has been steadily on the increase, as well as inflation, so we really just want to expand options. First-year living will still, or living on campus will still be prioritized for first-year students. So that's how we're going to work to balance want to make sure that those who do have a legitimate need, financial or otherwise, that they also have the opportunity to take advantage of these resources, which are also funded through their student fees.
Alright, Hilton and Chima, you guys are looking for
Definitely. So essentially, I believe that it is also equally as important to make the first year living requirement more lenient, because like Timothy said, it will both give the first year students more options for more affordable housing that doesn't necessarily have to be within the on-campus residence halls, as well as giving other students more of an opportunity to have those housing options who may not have the option to live in a place nearby. But also, essentially, what we really want to do is expand your choices as a student, because your college experience, you only have 4 years. You only have, you get to choose what you want your experience to be. And so by giving choice to actually people on what you want your experience to be, you feel it will really benefit you.
I just want to make an observation that no one at the front of this room is a first-year student. And to reiterate what we said earlier, we don't want to make assumptions about what is best for other groups and other communities that we're not part of. To go back to the previous question, this is why the final report of our select department on the first-year experience will not be finalized until March 2024, because we're going to work with these students to hear feedback from things like living on campus requirements to their first year on campus, their experience, to determine what are the best formal recommendations to make to the university for the next step of the year.
Yeah, I'll go. I'll take this as an out-of-state student. I think that the first year live-on requirement is actually very helpful. As somebody who came from Atlanta, I had never been to Raleigh before, and so the live-on requirement was definitely a big community builder for me. Natalie Young and I actually kind of sort of lived off campus, and she can testify as well, but it was very strange to be a first year not surrounded by other first years. And so I think as we address the housing insecurity for campus at large, I think it is important to prioritize first years and their experiences if they're not from.
Alright, now I will address Allison with my second question. It's no question that there's a lack of coverage when it comes to multiple routes on campus. However, even though the reality is simple, more bus routes is the obvious solution. The university has constantly struggled to find workers to meet the needs of student transportation, especially for the roll line. So how do you plan to overcome these obstacles with action?
Well, I think what's most important is to recognize the fact that NC State, our bus system, is currently run by a third party. So currently, NC State has a contract that's being negotiated and has been set with this third party. And so what's important to note is the fact that when students left NC State campus because of COVID, when they went off campus, what occurred was they dropped the number of buses and the number of workers, and they lowered the conditions and the amount of routes from COVID. And when students started coming back on campus, they did not do the same thing to increase. So it's important to recognize first when we address busing within our platform, something to account for is the fact that we wanted to revamp up the system as a whole. And one of the most important parts of that is the inclusion of workers and the renegotiation of the contract itself. So in order for NC State to advocate for workers' rights, this is going to be one of the facets of the active conversation that we want to push for transportation to have within NC State.
One of the things we want to do as our initiative is to optimize bus routes, improve parking resources, and potentially create new bus routes for new students, because most students find trouble accessing different buildings, different places. So just basically optimizing bus routes and making it more accessible to students is something that's very important for us.
On the other hand of the transportation argument, another thing we're hoping to do is advocate for lower costs of parking, because the main reason why NC State students use bus move line is because parking is so expensive. And so we're hoping that. Oh, you said time or 5 seconds?
Time.
Oh, my bad. I'm sorry. I heard 5 seconds. I'm sorry.
Hey, you're going a mile a minute. Alright, Nina, 30 seconds.
Okay. As I mentioned in student affairs and student government, we have talked about bus routes plenty of times because it's an issue that makes everybody mad. And it really is one of those things that you could look at and say, this is not feasible. This is not something we can fix. However, I do have a belief that if we have strong relations with the city of Raleigh and the local city government, we can make something happen in terms of the bus routes. I think that anything can change if you apply pressure, and part of our government affairs platform is to increase that relationship with the city of Raleigh. And I think that if they see the benefit.
Finish the sentence that you were
Oh, benefit, they'll help us out.
You don't have to like go like create all of these.
Okay. Like Nina said earlier, transportation can sometimes be difficult to work with. So how do you plan on working around that when you are met with an immediate no from the department?
Met with an immediate no from transportation department.
I'm not saying they will give you an immediate no, but what happens when you're met with a hard place? What is your plan?
Met with a hard place brings a hard bargain. And I think that NC State, because we are outsourcing from this company, I think that the number one thing to do is say, we're purchasing, we're utilizing your facilities, and if you're not adequately supporting our students, then we will not adequately be supporting your business. And obviously that's far-fetched to say that we would stop the usage of the buses, but I am saying that we do have a hard bargain factor, and having strong voices in leadership is an important part of that conversation.
Starting with Hilton, you mentioned wanting to increase stipends for graduate students, as does every other ticket. While while expanding their insurance packages. This has been a decades-long issue for the university. What's different about your campaign? How will your platform enact positive, permanent change when it comes to graduate student stipends, and what route are you going to take?
Definitely. I know we just got out of Black History Month, but this famous song called "The Change Gonna Come." Essentially, if you guys know, currently it was brought to the Senate floor a few days ago. Graduate students are now on strike in some departments. They are revolting. They're saying, "Hey, like we are not getting paid enough. The cost of living is too high for what we are getting paid. We are doing world-changing research, and we're not being compensated for it equitably." And so, what me and Chima's administration will fight to do is not only to come up the sheer pathos that these graduate students are coming with, which from a very justified standpoint of them not being able to live at a good quality of life, but to also come with the data, to do research across the country and say, hey, how much are graduate students being paid, what type of research are they doing, and what type of factors factor into the amount that they're being paid, what field are they in, what is the applicability of the research that they're doing, how big are the research labs that they're a part of. And then we're going to culminate all of that research and data into an actionable step, a transparent plan that people know that something is going on, so we can keep track and y'all can hold us accountable to make sure that we fight towards increasing those stipends. As well as being president of the tuition and fees, or being the chair of the tuition and fees committee, I would also hope to kind of stagger the tuition fees for graduate students. Based off also same research, based off how much graduate students interact with these fees that we all know undergrads use all the time. So yeah, increase the stipends or the fees.
Well, as you said in your phrasing of the question, this has been a decade-long issue, unfortunately, and I think that is why every ticket has addressed it. Something that's important to us is, as we said earlier, we don't want to make empty promises that maybe might not be realistic, things that are beyond our authority, which is why, if elected, we will work strongly with the graduate school, we will work strongly with the Graduate Student Association to advocate for increased stipends, to listen to feedback from graduate students, but knowing that there are barriers to prevent us from doing this. We will realistically advocate for these goals.
So we're starting to see some improvement on these grad stipends. Our provost actually offered a deal in which they would match with the college to increase these. Of course, it's going to be in a very staggered way, but that doesn't deny the fact that compared to our universities down the road, our graduates are still not making what they should be making. And I think that Katie and I can sit up here and say, we are for grad students all we want, but the fact of the matter is we don't know what it's like to be a grad student. And that's why we dedicate ourselves to surrounding people that can influence these types of decisions and educate us.
Alright, so grad students are an integral part of our community, making up a vast amount of the research that the university conducts, with us being an R1 given a research institution, so it's important that we prioritize these issues. We plan to tackle this issue and raise the stipend across the board by collaborating with the great work that's already being done, particularly by Dean Harry's in the graduate school, and he's been analyzing and collecting stipend data from all departments across the graduate school, so we plan to work with him to do that work.
Wellness days, although a heavily contested method for students to practice mental health, look like they're here to stay. Should you work
say like a good midline to like, for like, what would be like a good time, like, assignment work and everything, pretty much. And to also like I said, find like a good solution generally. So generally collaborating with these professors, because a lot of students who like participate in these wellness days, everyone participates in these wellness days. A lot of them feel like that even on those wellness days, they don't really get a break. So being able to collaborate with professors is something that we really want to do.
So the wellness day issue is kind of tricky just because, you can't plan a mental health crisis. So what we're kind of looking at is more fine-tuning our attendance policies and our grade policies. Wellness days I think are important. I think it's important that we have them. I think that we're happy with how many we have now. We don't want to try to implement a whole bunch of them in a way that might be difficult, what with reading days and professors, people freak out about the professors, like, okay.
Okay, all good. So we actually, last night at Senate, 2 days ago at Senate, I don't know what day it is, we were talking with the MHI about how we're going to be, part of that initiative is reassessing the relationship between the credit hours that you're receiving for a class and what that looks like for the workload. And so I think that's really important when we're talking about wellness days, is making sure that that lines up so that you have a 3-hour credit hour class, right? That workload is not spilling into your wellness day, that's a reasonable relationship.
So we have seen a lot of positive feedback from the implementation of wellness days here on campus, and something that Timothy and I aim to implement is when it comes towards what the question that you were asking, something that we opt to mention is the fact that we want wellness days to hold a similar reverence that other holidays typically do. We want them to be extremely protected, and one way that we can assure this is the normalization of wellness days. One of the things that we opt for is the implementation of concrete, lasting wellness days into academic calendars, and when teachers that are brought on staff and recognize wellness days are a part of their job implement this, we're able to see this lasting effect.
Since you were we'll elaborate on
Cool. The last part I just want to tag onto the discussion is that we will, if we get elected, be trying to advocate to hold professors accountable. After having conversations with the deans of engineering, because we're in the process of getting a new engineering game, we found out that there is some limitability of what a dean can do to hold a professor accountable. However, we will try and fight for the students as hard as possible to make sure the wellness days are protected, as well as by ensuring that wellness days are well established so that professors can plan the curriculum and the lesson plans to avoid assignments to them.
We will wrap up today's debate with closing statements. This person can give a closing statement. 1 minute.
1 minute per person, 2 minutes, Joe.
So I want to thank everybody for being here. Hello to my friends that are in the audience. I love NC State. I love student government. I love students. And I think that I can be a great advocate for you all. This is something that I'm really passionate about. I put a lot of work into this, and I want to do a lot of hard work with you guys. We have a lot of goals and a lot of plans to achieve these goals on our platform. I hope that you've looked at it if you haven't. I hope that you will look at it if you haven't already. Just thank you for being here, and do your civic duty. That's all I have to say.
I also want to thank everyone for being here, and to Technician and Newbie Message for holding this, and to the people that are up in front of this room with me. I'm sitting with 7 amazing people, and I think Rob, one of the great things. We have a holistic and extensive platform that covers so many areas of campus. Through listening to people's feedback, through listening to what we hear our peers talk about and what they care about, we've developed a platform that we're passionate about, that other people are passionate about, that we know covers so many issues that students want to see addressed.
I will also thank everybody for being here and thank the moderators. I'd also like to add that this is not the only opportunity that you have to engage with us before the election. Kayla and I are very reachable on social media. We're also reachable in person. And so obviously we've been able to speak about limited aspects of our platform tonight, but I think that all of it is really important. And so if you're interested about that, please please reach out to us, and we would love to speak with you more. So thank you so much for being here.
I'd like to start my statement off by saying Happy Women's History Month. I feel so empowered to be the only all-female ticket up here being asked questions by females. It's been a great experience tonight, and I have thoroughly enjoyed being out here talking about what we're about. We really do want to bring you a sense of belonging. We're here for you. We're out tabling almost every single day coming up till elections. Please stop by and say hey to us if you see us. We want to talk to you. We want to get your input. And just know that we're genuinely here for you, whether we are in this role or not coming up. We are still here for you.
Thank you to everyone that's here. Thank you for spending your Friday evening with us. I know this isn't what most people here in the crowd had in mind, but I'd just like to say that Timothy and I are really proud of all the work that we've done to get here, and we're even more excited for the rigor that we plan on bringing to the ticket and to the position if we were given the opportunity. We're very strong and dedicated leaders. We love being a part of the Wolfpack community, and we're going to try we're going to utilize everything that we've mentioned within our platform, which is seen on @Reid Markert, on Instagram and our website. But we're going to bring about everything that we've mentioned within our platform. We can assure that this is going to be a part that we implement it within the NC State community to assure that we are able to elevate the quality of the student experience and to bring our institution to a higher level in itself.
Yeah, thank you all again for showing up here. We really appreciate it, and thank you for Technician and Nubian Message for hosting us. I can say, as a personal anecdote, that my experience here hasn't been made whole by coursework or professional and personal enrichment opportunities. It's been made whole by the students and the relationships that I've been able to form. The special part of our university is that, we have varied experiences, people who are coming from all walks of life, all backgrounds, all perspectives, and ours is a campaign that will be inclusive of everybody. So we invite you to come along this journey with us, focusing on mental health, academic stressors, really elevating the quality of the student experience. As Allison said, check us out at Reid Markert on Instagram and reidmarkert.org. We're excited for the journey ahead, and the best is yet to come. Thank you.
Thanks everybody for coming here. This is a pretty new experience for me as someone who's in a part of SGA. But even despite that, our plan is to running vice president. It's my job to take the voices of you all and echo them to higher level administration and to people who can help us. So with you guys' help, we can make this happen.
And I'll wrap us up. I want to thank y'all for coming out tonight. I would really appreciate y'all's vote. I really believe in the act of paying it forward. I've been blessed tremendously with my experience here at NC State, both with the opportunity to serve here in student government, as well as being able to join all the extracurriculars and being a part of all the different communities I'm here and on campus. And I personally do feel like NC State is a good home for myself. And I would love the opportunity to continue that and help other students feel that same love, same community, and same inclusion here at NC State, where they can be proud to be a part of the Wolfpack. If you want to follow me in Chima's campaign some more, our Instagram is Hilton and Chima 23. And yeah, we'll be in touch with you guys. Thank y'all very much.
All right, so with that, this year's student government debate has come to a close. I thank everybody in the audience for bearing with me and Uganda. We are student journalists first and debate moderators maybe dead last. And